So, as you have gotten older, have you found it more and more difficult to serve the Lord? I know that sounds backwards, right? We're somehow conditioned to think the longer we live this life of faith, the easier it gets. But I'm convinced that in this present society, distractions are greater, anti-Christian sentiments are becoming more prominent, and I even say sin is more exotic. Well, today on hashtag It Is Written, I want to explore how accountability is the answer on how to keep your faith as you age. It's your boy Ty, creator of hashtag It Is Written, equip and encourage believers to continue to do what God is calling you to do. Webster defines accountability as the fact or condition of being required or expected to justify your actions or decisions. Now, as believers, we know we are accountable to God. In Genesis chapter 2, the Lord gave responsibilities to Adam, which included to work and keep the garden. This concept extends in the New Testament when Jesus gives believers the Great Commission in Matthew 28, verse 18. The Great Commission essentially is God's decreed will for all. Plainly put, no matter if it's Adam or it's today, God has entrusted man with a job. We are therefore accountable for our actions and our decisions. Now, hear me out when I say this. We are not only accountable to God for extending his kingdom, we are also equally accountable to God in how we live out our personal lives. Now, what I'm about to say is not every believer's experience, but I find it easier, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I find it easier to go and preach the gospel than to live it out. I truly believe that the distractions presented in today's world are far greater and more nuanced than any previous generation have seen or dealt with. Now, I'm not saying, hear me well, I am not saying that the principle of resisting temptations and fleeing distractions are unequal. Just saying they're different and more severe today. So how does one keep their faith in this type of society? We all know that we are accountable to God, right? But I think the answer lies in a different type of accountability, and that is us being accountable to one another. Since we are the church, we must submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. That's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21. So as an act of submission, we need to place ourselves in a condition of being required or expected to justify our actions with one another. When we make ourselves receptive to accountability in our lives, it has a few benefits. Like, for instance, we begin to practice the will of God for our lives. You may be asking, what do you mean by practicing the will of God in our lives? Well, when you have someone holding you accountable, you begin to exercise humility. You begin to exercise the fruit of the Spirit in your lives. One of the greatest benefits you can have for someone holding you accountable is that you begin to be more vulnerable and authentic with that person. Look, it's not good for man to be alone. And we can see all throughout everyone's lives around us that people are just trying to be known and trying to feel loved. Have someone hold you accountable, and I can bet you your life will be more authentic. I'm only 28, so I don't have that much wisdom. But what I am learning in that short time is that when I don't have accountability, like true accountability, I succumb to the desires of my flesh. One of my favorite Bible verses is in the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 1. It says, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desires and breaks out against sound judgment. Listen, and I'm just telling on myself, I don't have the willpower to follow every single commandment that the Lord has given me. I can't do it alone. I can't fight the good fight of faith alone. I need someone to aid me in holding myself accountable. I need to be required or expected to justify my actions or decisions. And I would assert that you, believer, that is watching this right now, you need the same thing. Now, I must say this because it's the truth. It's impossible to obey God without God. In other words, you need the Holy Spirit in order to obey God. So pray, ask the Holy Spirit to aid you in being accountable. Go search an accountability partner. Have some accountability in your lives. Hey, y'all, look, that's all I had for this episode of hashtag It Is Written. I want you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I love y'all.